Today, it really is my pleasure to announce the appointment of Jen Cohen to serve as Athletic Director at the University of Washington. We conducted a national search for a leader who would be able to lead the University of Washington through the challenges that all programs of our caliber face, who would support our coaches and athletes so that our students could excel on the field and off the field. She really is someone who will put the student athlete first. We have a truly stellar athletic program at a really stellar university. And again, Jen will really be emphasizing the student athlete experience, which is so incredibly important to us. So at the conclusion of the search, we determined that the very best leader for the University of Washington Athletics was already right here in Montlake, Jennifer Cohen. Jen is a Tacoma native, and she's been at the University of Washington for 15 years as a development officer in athletics and in undergraduate education. Before serving as interim AD since January, she oversaw all of athletics fundraising. And in recent years, the football and baseball programs have directly reported to Jen. Quite frankly, you can't visit any of our venues without seeing an example of her work. From the $50 million campaign to renovate Husky Stadium to our really beautiful Conibear Shell House. Jen has the experience at the University of Washington, 3 prior universities, and in national circles to understand college athletics and to bring the University of Washington to even greater heights. Some of you may be following her first day on the job. We may well have a national championship. I mean, how many ADs get announced on the day we're playing in a national championship? Pretty cool. So I want to thank the search committee for their thorough, diligent work and for recommending such an outstanding leader. And now it's my great pleasure to introduce the new University of Washington Athletic Director, Jen Cohen.
Thank you. All right. My staff knows that I'm much happier talking about our student athletes and our coaches than me, so I think they're going to have fun with this one. And whoever put the picture up on the video board is in trouble. But this is truly an amazing experience. I think so many of you know that I grew up a Husky fan, and I fell in love with the University of Washington right here in this stadium. I spent a lot of Saturdays here. My dad's first set of season tickets were in the Family Fun Zone, which was located in the West End, which is kind of below where we are today. My favorite tradition on game day was going down to the tunnel and barking at the opponent. I legitimately barked. I think it was a sign of future competitiveness in me that I didn't know was coming. And then after the games, I would go down and collect wristbands from some of my favorite players. And so this place is just woven in the fabric of every being of who I am. In 1998, I had my first dream come true, which is getting my first job here. I'm one of those rare people that's been able to learn and grow and develop and stay at the school that they've loved their entire career, which doesn't happen very often. And so I sit here today just humbled and honored to be able to serve this great university in this athletic department that I love so much. It's fair to say that this truly is a dream come true for me. I'd like to first thank my new boss, President Kause, for this incredible opportunity and for her support and leadership. She is a tremendous advocate for students, all students, including our student athletes. So I'm really excited to work under her leadership. I'd also like to thank the Board of Regents and the search committee for entrusting me with a program that means so much to so many. I also want to introduce my family because they're everything to me, and this is an all-in, all-the-time job, and these guys, all 3 of them, are all in all the time with me. My 2 sons, who I want them to stand up because they are looking good today. Looking good, and they got to miss school, so they're jacked right now, but Tyson's 14, he's gonna be an O'Day Irishman next year, and Dylan, who's 11. Good job, boys. And then my husband, Bill, who I met in graduate school, and and he knew I had this dream, and he supported me along the way on a lot of crazy times. So thanks, you guys. Love you. So I love being a Husky for so many different reasons. And for me, the biggest one, it's all about the people and it's all about the relationships. And this place is surrounded with phenomenal people. It starts in our department with our coaches, our head coaches and our assistant coaches. And I tell them all the time, and I'm gonna say it again, they are the best in the business. And when I say that, it's not just that they're great coaches, but they're great people. They have great character. They care about their student athletes. They're mentors. They develop these young men and women for life after college, and they're phenomenal. And I do want to give a shout out. I'm not going to recognize anybody else today because you're all so amazing, but I do want to recognize Mary Lou Mulfler, who can't be here today, but is competing, as President Cauce said, for a national championship. And what a story. What a story. 30 plus years. She's been here 30 plus years, dedicating her life to this place and these students. So today is her day to shine and these student athletes' day to shine, and I'm just so proud of her. We also have a number of our staff here today. Husky Athletics has over 200 employees. All these people here, they're really the unsung heroes. They do all the hard work behind the scenes to make sure that our student athletes and our fans and donors have everything that we need. And every person in this room and every person in this department matters. They all contribute to our success now, and they're all going to contribute to our success moving forward. And then there's our student athletes, and they make us all feel like in awe. They're unbelievable. I watch these student athletes. Coach Pete always says, you're going to be abnormal. You know, he talks to them about, you got to be ready to be abnormal, and it's so true. These student athletes have so many demands placed on them, both in academics and in their competition and in their personal lives. And time again, they just surprise us, and they're shining right now. We're seeing it in the classroom. As President Cauce said, we do put the student first here. And we have record high team and individual GPAs, record high graduation rates, because these kids are committed to it. But they also are great athletes. Right now, we're fighting to be in the top 15 here at the end of this year. Mary Lou wins the national championship day. We might even get higher in the Director's Cup. And so it's a remarkable balance of what these young men and women do, and they inspire us every single day. And finally, this is all possible because of our fans and our former athletes and our Tyee Club donors. I've been here a long time, almost 2 decades, and I've seen the impact that fan support has had. Student athletes come here because of our fans and our donors. Our facilities, our ability to give them the best resources possible are because of our fans and because of our donors and because of our former athletes. And this is a special place. Coaches are retained and they stay here because of it. And I know for me, it was a big factor in me wanting to lead this program because I knew that we had the support from all of our alums and our community. So thanks to all of you. I know there are a lot of you here today. I also love being a Husky for what we represent. We are tough. Huskies are tough. We're gritty, and the thing I love most about being a Husky is that we are determined. We are always charging forward to be the very best we can be. As Huskies, we also show great character and integrity and heart, and we do the right thing all the time. We call it the Washington way. And as Huskies, we are also one. We are unified, and we work together, and we know that we can accomplish so much more as a group as we can, much more so than we can by ourselves. And so these are the traits and the characteristics that I bring as a leader to this department, and I absolutely know that everybody associated with this department already has. So as we move forward and I take on this role, I've got 3 main objectives that our team's gonna be focusing on. The first is that we're gonna positively impact the lives of our student athletes each and every day. They are absolutely the reason why we're here. We are all about education, we're about opportunity, we're about access. That's really what we do. And it's our responsibility to make sure that we're giving these kids every experience possible, every resource possible to really ultimately become the very best versions of themselves. So that goes so far beyond athletics. It goes into their academic endeavors or their personal development, and so that we can prepare these young men and women for life after college so they can go out and contribute to our society in meaningful ways. Second, we're going to inspire championship culture that fuels winning teams. I've never hid the fact that I love to win, and I think everybody here feels the same way. That starts with attitude and an effort and a culture that brings great programs that are trying to achieve excellence at the highest level, just like our university. And so winning in all of our programs is a priority for us, believe you me. And third and finally is that we build and unite our community. I think a lot of us here today love sports because it's a great unifier. It's so inclusive. People from all walks of life get to come and be a part of this. And for us, it's being a Husky. And so we're going to connect with our student body. We're going to connect with our faculty. We're going to connect with our alums and our former athletes and our donors. And we're going to do that by giving them great experiences and great teams that will have Huskies around the world proud. And finally, I just want to say it is great to be a Husky. Those that are really close to this program know that we are on the verge of something really special here. We can all feel it. And that being said, there are going to be challenges, and this is not all going to be perfect, and we're going to work hard, and we're seeing all kinds of challenges that are impacting all schools across the country with the evolution of college athletics, and it's changing so rapidly, and so we see that in the positive investments we're making in our student athletes, increased expenses, the challenges of TV contracts and game times and the competition in the living room and where that impacts our revenues. And so we're going to tackle that here. And I'm telling you what, I am totally optimistic about the future. When I close my eyes, I picture this stadium full. When I close my eyes, I picture our student athletes, more student athletes like the ones that are competing today, competing for national championships. When I close my eyes and I think about the future of Husky athletics, I think of student athletes walking out of here and saying, that was the best experience of my life. And when I picture it with us doing it together. So there is no other place I'd rather be than here at the University of Washington. I'm honored, I'm humbled. We are ready to get to work with our talented team, and thanks, and go Dogs.
Okay. You want to do the mic? So questions from the media, and we have for those of you who are seated, all of you, we have a microphone so everybody could hear the question.
Can you tell us about when you got notification that you got the job? Was it a meeting? Was it a phone call? What were you doing before, and what was your reaction?
Okay, I'll let the president start.
We were both together at Pac-12 meetings. And so there was an AD, and they call us CEOs, the presidents at the Pac-12. We had a dinner with all of us, and after dinner I said, let's talk. And we did. So on Sunday.
What was your reaction, Jen?
Elation.
She smiled a lot.
I did. We hugged. No, I mean, obviously, I think you guys all know this. This is something I've wanted my entire life, and so I was thrilled.
This is for President Kelsey. Chris Fetters with Dogman.com. Was curious, after the application process closed and you were in the Board of Regents, you guys were able to deliberate, how long did it take? What was kind of the timeline, and how long did it take you to get to a decision?
Gosh, I'd have to go. I mean, the search committee, I don't remember when the applications closed, but then the search committee actually flew out, or a part of the search committee flew out and met with 16 to 20 candidates. I can't remember the exact number. And then they brought a shorter list to me of 4 or 5. I met with all of those and then made the decision and met with the search committee, met with the leadership of the search committee. I did a lot of reference checking at the end. I mean, they had done some reference checking, but then I followed up with some more reference checking. My sense is that this took about 3 months or so.
But when you actually got to that short list, how long did that take?
3 weeks to a month, probably more like 3 weeks. People, you have to go fast at that point because people are already at jobs in other places and you don't want names to leak out. So it was, I'd say, about 3 weeks, 2.5. If you let me look back at my at my calendar, I can tell you exactly.
Well, that was easy. Are we done? I'm like, sweet.
Earlier in your career, before UW,
Yeah.
if you can remember then,
Yeah, I
you
can.
spent time in and around athletic departments, two very different universities, PLU down in Tacoma and Texas A&M. Was there anything in particular from those very different environments that maybe helped shape you, or that you still think back to that influenced where you are now and how you look at things?
Absolutely. I worked at 2 Division III schools in my early part of my career, PLU and University of Puget Sound. And I always say that I am so grateful that I started off at a small school. We had no resources at those schools. I did every job you can imagine. I would climb the ladder to fix the shot clock and sweep the floors when I ran the facilities. And I coached volleyball, and I did all these different types of jobs that really gave me a flavor for all the areas of college athletics, and so I go back to those roots of that kind of grittiness and that hard work, and I really credit the Division III experience that I had.
Jen, you're one of 3 female ADs at a Power 5 school in the country. What does that mean to you?
It's interesting because my entire career, I really haven't thought a lot about my gender. I've really wanted to work hard and prove myself on my own merits, which I think I have. That being said, there's something really special about that. I have a lot of women on my staff and folks across the country that I want them to be able to see that women can do it. And if there aren't women doing it, they're not going to see that they can. And so I take that role seriously, and I'm honored to be able to do that for other women.
How do you view the balance between the so-called revenue-producing sports and the more prevalent Olympic-type sports that have so many athletes involved?
Yeah, that's one of the things I love about Washington, is that we invest in all of our programs. I think about every one of these kids like they're one of my own, in revenue or not, male, female, it doesn't matter. And so this place is special that way. Our student athletes, I just finished doing exit interviews with some of our baseball players, and that's, traditionally not a revenue sport. And to a student athlete, every one of those kids told me, "You've given me every resource to be successful here. It's up to us to be able to maximize that." And so that's why I love the culture. Our donors, our fans, everybody respects the fact that we're good across all of our sports, and you see it. The reason why Nabes went to the Final Four this year is because he has the support he needs to have a winning program, and I think every one of our coaches could tell you that.
This is the only Power 5 school with both the university president, who's a female, and a female AD. Can you talk about the significance of that?
Well, it was interesting when we were at the Pac-12 meetings and we were having this dinner, and there was about 25 people around the table. There was 3 women, and we were having discussions, and at one point I was trying to say something, and other people kept on talking over me of particular gender, and Jen and I just looked at each other.
We're in this one together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The truth is that, we tell students, that this is what the future looks like in terms of the University of Washington, and, this is what the future looks like. You're going to see more women in positions of power. We, hold up half the sky, and I look forward to the day when this just isn't unusual, and it's not worth commenting on.
President, was just curious, if you want to name names, great, but could you talk a little bit about some of the feedback you got from maybe people that you talked to in your background regarding Jen and why you felt she was the best candidate?
Well, you saw her. The enthusiasm that not only she has, but that she can really get other people going in terms of really, you need a lot of that enthusiasm and optimism to get through difficult periods. And I think that Jen really engenders that in other people. She has a reputation for being present. She's there. her family can probably, tell you that themselves. But, she does what it takes, and she pays attention to people, whether it's the student athletes, whether it's the fans, the supportiveness with which she approaches the tasks. Again and again, I heard from people that they wanted her to lead. I should probably also mention that when we were down at talking to the very final, there was 2 of the group that brought me strategic plans. And it was really cool to see the way that she was really analyzing, looking towards the future. This is what we have to do. And I really thought that was a big part of it. We need to be strategic as we move forward. We don't have the resources to just, throw around and solve problems that way. And that was very much a part of it for me.
Ms. President, this obviously was an internal hire. Can you talk about the value of hiring a Husky rather than going out and hiring, no disrespect, a big name with a national reputation?
Yeah, I think that, with all of these things, there are pluses and minuses to either. It's not like it always is an internal versus external or the opposite. But I think that, in this particular place, in this particular time, when we have an excellent athletic program that's, really performing at the highest level with so many things going great, the continuity. She can hit the ground running. She doesn't have to begin to develop all those relationships. She has a plan. Quite frankly, she is the best hire that we could have possibly made, and that's why we did it.
Jen, this question is for you. I'm just wondering if there are any changes that you foresee for football fan experience coming this fall. In particular, the East End Party Zone.
The zone, the famous zone, right? So we haven't made any decisions yet about game day experience. Our marketing teams are building business plans for next year. And so we'll be looking at everything. And the game day experience is a top priority for us. We want to get more fans here. We want fans to leave having a great experience. So pretty much everything's on the table as far as the zone and is it open at halftime or not, and a lot of other elements as well. But I want to make sure that I take the time to make a thoughtful decision with my staff now that I have this position.
This is for the president. Is it Mrs. President? Is that how I address you? I want to get that right. Can you talk about, yeah, there you go. How influential was Chris Peterson in leading you to this hire?
This was really at the end, it was my decision. We had input from everybody. Obviously, the coach is incredibly important. I talked to him, I talked to Coach Romar, I talked to a number of the coaches and staff members as I was doing reference checks. But it really was, this was really very much a consensus hire.
Jen, you've been in the interim role for 4 months. Is there anything you learned about the job you didn't know prior to that?
Yeah, and the president has been reminding me, because she was interim first too, that once you're in it permanently, that's a totally different story as well. So I would say the thing that surprises you the most is the visibility of it. And I can't go to the grocery store without makeup on now. It's a problem. It's a problem.
Jen, you mentioned some of the challenges. I think revenues are been at an all-time high at the athletics department the last couple of years. Expenses also at an all-time high. How optimistic are you that you can balance that budget soon, and what's your game plan?
I think it's going to take us a couple years, Adam. We have expenses that are on the rise for very good reason, which is all this NCAA reform that we've done to invest back in our student athletes and the student athlete experience, and you're seeing that, right, in the success that we're having across all of our sports. Revenues have been down for the last couple years in gate here, but we had a great renewal rate this year. We have the highest number of new season ticket deposits we've seen in a few years here, and I think we all know Coach Pete's building something very special, and so it may take a little time, but I'm fully optimistic that we'll get there.
President Cauce, you're involved in a lot of high-profile hirings, obviously, besides the athletic department. Continuity is always, you hope a luxury that when you make your selection. How important is it in any hiring for you to assess likelihood of your ability to hold on to the person you're hiring, which I would think is important? Obviously, in this case, you have to feel good about it. Yeah. But I'm just curious, do you and the search committees look at that when you assess candidates?
Yeah. First of all, let me say that there are times when you really do want a reset. And sometimes when you want a reset and a change in course, you might lean more towards the external. So it isn't. What I look for is commitment. It's not a question of, exactly how many years can you give us, because no matter what people say, it's hard to tell. But I think that you can tell commitment. You can look at that in people's backgrounds. Has this been someone that's, jumped around 2 years here, 2 years there, 2 years the other place? Or is this someone that comes and is all in? That's important, because that really does get you through the rough spots. And even in these glamorous jobs, there are rough moments.
Jen, you mentioned the game day experience is something now you can kind of tackle.
Yeah.
Are there some other things or some other plans or ideas that you kind of had to put on the back burner being the interim that now as the full-time athletic director you can tackle?
I think the biggest thing now, and I've talked to both of you and Kim about this, is that the game day experience and the focus on improving it for our fans is all about getting fans here. The more fans we have in the stadium, the better experience they have. And so I'm really excited about the work that actually our team already started during the interim time. We have a great new director of ticket sales. We've got an unbelievable outbound sales team. We've got a retention team now in place at making calls to season ticket holders to try to keep that loyalty going. And so there's all kinds of other things that are at play, that you can do to make things more creative. But ultimately, it's a full stadium that gives fans and our student athletes what they deserve.
When I asked Jen to step in as interim, I told her to do what she would, including beginning to make some hires, so that interim didn't mean I put her on training wheels. Told her to go for it, and she has.